Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to discuss the words and or. And of course, you know the meaning of these words and or, but in programming, we need to consider them carefully, especially in this situation as I'm going to describe. So suppose that P is the statement that income is greater than 250,000 yen. And suppose that Q is the statement that age is greater than 21. And suppose we're talking about a bank that is considering giving someone a loan. So what's the difference between if the bank says A versus if they say B? So if the bank says if P and Q, then you can receive a loan, versus if the bank says if P or Q, then you can receive a loan. So let's just review one thing first. So let's review this. When is the block of code, this part, run? So in other words, we have an if, then statement. So we have something in here. And when is this block of code run? So it's run, we said, if what's here is true, right? If this is true, then this block of code will run. If it's not true, then we just go to the end of the statement, right? So where's the block of code? It's here. You can receive a loan. Where's the block of code? You can receive a loan. So here we have the if, then statement. And this is like the block of code. In this case, not the block of code, but it's something that happens. You can receive a loan. So when is this so-called block of code run? When this condition is true, or when this condition is true. So what's the difference if the bank says this statement, a statement, that means that P and Q both have to be true, versus if they say P or Q. So it's pretty clear that if they say P and Q, suppose someone comes in with income which is greater than 250,000 yen, but their age is 18. Then do we run this block of code? Do we say you can receive a loan? No, because why? This says P and Q must be true in order for you to receive the loan. But if the bank says B, or if a different bank says B, then if they say if P or Q, then you can receive a loan. Then suppose someone comes in with income of greater than 250,000 yen, but their age is not greater than 21, it's 18. So they said this. So is this true? Remember, when does this code get run? When does you can receive a loan get run? If this is true. So is this true in the case that P is true but Q is false? That is, in the case that income is greater than 250,000 yen, but age is 18. Do they give the loan? They said if P or Q, then you can receive the loan. So I think it's clear in that case that you will receive the loan because your income is greater than 250,000 yen. You're only 18, but it doesn't matter because they said or, whereas here they said and. So in other words, in order for this whole thing to be true, what has to be true? Both parts have to be true. Whereas in order for this whole thing to be true, what has to be true? Either one can be true, and then the whole thing is true, and then this block of code will run. So this illustrates this idea here. That is, if you have two statements A and B, or P and Q, and you have and in between them, so P and Q, or A and B, what does it take for this to be true? It takes both A and B to be true. That's what we just said. So in the case where A and B are true, then A and B will also be true. But in the case where A is true and B is false, A and B will not be true, right? We just said that here. if your income is greater than 250 but you're 18, then we're not going to run this code because this will not be true, right? We won't have satisfied this condition. This won't be true. If this is true, we will do this, but it's not true. Okay. But on the other hand, and that's also true if if B is true and A is false, still A and B is not true. And of course, if they're both false, then this is not true. Okay, but with or, it's different, right? We said that if it was, if the person was 18, but they earned more than 250,000, then we would give them a loan. That is by the way, this part here is called the antecedent, or here, the dot here is called the antecedent. Ante means before. So, and this part here is sometimes called the consequent. The consequent means the consequence of what happened. So anyway, if the antecedent is true, then the consequent will get run, right? So here, if either one is true, then the antecedent is true, and then the consequent will get run. Okay, so what did we just say? If this one is true, if A is true, then the OR statement is true. If B is true, then the OR statement is true. Of course, if they're both true, the OR statement is true. But if they're both false, of course, it's not.